I saw my sister's message on Family Link. Emergency, read now, and my blood ran cold. What could possibly be so urgent? It was a rainy Tuesday evening in March of 2025. Neon city lights flashed over the deserted alley visible from my apartment window. Rain pattered on the glass as I unlocked my phone, my fingers trembling slightly. The Family Link app, the bane of my existence, was flashing insistently. We'd all reluctantly agreed to use it. Me, my sister Chloe, my parents, and of course, my mother-in-law Patricia. Patricia, the queen bee of passive-aggressive family drama. I tapped the notification. Chloe's message was short, cryptic, and contained an attachment. Mom and Dad are selling the house. They didn't tell me. Is this even legal? I scrolled down and opened the attached document. It was a preliminary sales agreement for our childhood home, the one filled with so many memories, both good and bad. My heart hammered against my ribs. Selling the house, without telling Chloe? I immediately called Chloe. What's going on? Is this for real? I don't know, Sophia. That's why I messaged you. I found it on Dad's cloud drive. I still have access from when I helped him with his taxes last year. They haven't said a word to me. Her voice was tight with anger and hurt. Okay, calm down. Have you tried talking to them? I asked, even though I knew the answer. Talking to our parents about anything remotely serious usually resulted in carefully constructed deflection and thinly veiled guilt trips. Are you kidding? I sent Mom a text. She just replied with a laughing emoji and said I was being dramatic. Classic, I sighed. I'll talk to them. I'm going over there tomorrow. Good luck. You're the only one they might actually listen to, Chloe said, her voice laced with cynicism. Let me know what you find out. And Sophia, be careful. Something feels off. I drove to my parents' house, a knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. The house itself looked the same, a comfortable 2-story colonial with a well-manicured lawn. But I knew appearances could be deceiving. My mom answered the door, her smile strained. Sophia, what a surprise. Come in. Hi, Mom. Where's Dad? He's running errands. He'll be back soon. She ushered me into the living room, which smelled faintly of potpourri and unspoken secrets. Chloe showed me the sales agreement, I said, cutting straight to the chase. Are you really selling the house? Her smile vanished. Oh, well, yes, we are. We were going to tell you both. Eventually. Eventually? Mom, Chloe found it. Why didn't you tell her? Or me? It's complicated, Sophia. We didn't want to upset her. Upset her? You think springing it on her at the last minute would be better? My voice rose slightly. Please, Sophia, keep your voice down. Your father will be home any minute. She wrung her hands, her eyes darting around the room. We need the money, Sophia. We're not getting any younger, and the upkeep on this place is just too much. Need the money for what? I asked. My suspicions growing. My parents weren't extravagant. They lived comfortably, but they weren't living large. She hesitated, her gaze shifting to the floor. It's an investment opportunity. Your father believes it's a very good one. An investment opportunity? That sounded like something Dad would say, trying to sound important. But what kind of opportunity required selling the family home? What were they hiding? Before I could press her further, the front door opened and my dad walked in. He looked surprised to see me. Sophia, what are you doing here? I came to talk about the house, I said, my voice firm. Chloe showed me the sales agreement. His face paled slightly. Well, your mother has explained everything, I'm sure. Not everything, I countered. What kind of investment requires selling our childhood home? He cleared his throat. It's a private matter, Sophia. It doesn't concern you. Doesn't concern me. This is my family. This is our home. We've made our decision, he said, his voice hardening. And that's final. I stared at them, a wave of anger and disbelief washing over me. They were shutting me out, keeping secrets. Something was definitely wrong. I don't believe you, I said, my voice low and dangerous. I think you're hiding something, and I'm going to find out what it is. How could I trust them now? The I started by discreetly checking my parents' finances. I knew enough about cybersecurity to avoid detection. Years of working in IT had its perks. I found nothing obvious, no large withdrawals, no suspicious transfers. But I did find something else. A series of encrypted messages on my dad's old, almost forgotten email account. He hadn't used it in years. I spent hours trying to crack the encryption, running different algorithms, trying different passwords. The messages were to an unknown individual, and they were disturbing. They talked about debts, deadlines, and consequences. If we don't deliver, they'll take everything, one message read. My blood ran cold. Who were they? What debts? What consequences? I showed the messages to Chloe. Her face was ashen. Oh my God, Sophia. What have they gotten themselves into? I don't know, I said, my voice trembling. But it doesn't look good. We need to find out who they're talking to. Chloe, ever the social media whiz, suggested running a reverse image search on the profile picture of the unknown individual. It was a long shot, but we were desperate. And surprisingly, it worked. The picture was a stock photo used on the website of a debt collection agency. But not just any agency. This one had a reputation for using less than legal methods. I felt a surge of adrenaline. My parents were in trouble, deep trouble. We need to confront them, I said, my voice determined. We need to know the truth. We drove to their house that evening, our hearts pounding in our chests. The atmosphere was thick with tension. My mom looked like she hadn't slept in days. My dad was pacing nervously. We know about the messages, I said, cutting to the chase. We know about the debts. We know about the agency. Their faces drained of color. My mom started to cry. My dad just stared at us, his eyes filled with fear. How did you find out? He stammered. It doesn't matter, Chloe said, her voice sharp. What matters is what's going on. Who do you owe money to? How much? My dad? He told us everything. He'd gotten involved in a risky investment scheme, promising high returns. But the returns never materialized. Instead, he'd racked up a massive debt. A debt he couldn't possibly repay. And the agency was threatening to take everything, including the house. We were going to lose it anyway, he sobbed. We just wanted to protect you girls. Protect us? By lying to us? By putting themselves in danger? I looked at Chloe. Her face was a mixture of anger and sadness. What do we do now? She whispered. What would you do if you were me? We spent the song. We consulted with a lawyer who told us that my parents had very few options. They could declare bankruptcy, but that would ruin their credit and leave them with nothing. Or they could try to negotiate with the agency, but that was a long shot. Chloe had an idea, a risky one. She suggested using her social media influence to expose the agency. She had a large following, and she knew how to get people's attention. But it was dangerous. It could put her and us in danger. Are you sure about this, Chloe? I asked, my voice filled with concern. This could backfire spectacularly. I know, she said, her voice resolute. But we have to do something. We can't just sit back and watch them lose everything. Chloe launched her campaign. She posted a series of videos exposing the agency's tactics, detailing my parents' situation, and urging her followers to boycott the agency. The response was overwhelming. Her videos went viral. The agency's website was flooded with negative reviews. Their social media accounts were bombarded with angry comments. The agency retaliated. They tried to silence Chloe, sending her threatening messages, trying to hack her accounts. But Chloe was prepared. She had strong cybersecurity measures in place, and she refused to be intimidated. Then, one evening, I got a message on my phone from an unknown number. Back off, or you'll regret it. My heart pounded in my chest. They were escalating. They know about you, Sophia, Chloe said, her voice trembling. They know you're involved. I knew we were in serious danger, but we couldn't back down now. We had to see this through. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the house sounded like someone breaking in. Every shadow seemed to conceal a threat. I kept replaying the anonymous message in my head. Back off, or you'll regret it. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was a text message from my mother-in-law, Patricia. I groaned inwardly. What did she want now? Dinner is, don't forget. I almost laughed. In the middle of this crisis, she was worried about dinner? I'm not sure I can make it, Patricia, I texted back. Things are a little complicated right now. Nonsense, she replied immediately. Family is family. You need to be there for Daniel. Daniel was my husband, her precious son. I'll try, I wrote, knowing full well that I probably wouldn't be able to make it. But Patricia wasn't one to take no for an answer. Sophia, darling, I insist you come to dinner. It's very important to Daniel. Patricia, with all due respect, I have more pressing matters to deal with right now. What could be more important than family? She asked, her voice dripping with disapproval. I bit back a retort. I knew that arguing with Patricia was like arguing with a brick wall. Look, I'll let you know, I said, trying to end the conversation. Actually, Sophia, she said, her voice taking on a sharp edge, I've decided that it would be best if you didn't come. I stared at my phone, stunned. What? Why? Let's just say that your current situation is not conducive to a pleasant family gathering. We don't want to upset Daniel. So, you're banning me from dinner? I asked, my voice incredulous. Think of it as a temporary exclusion, she said smoothly, until you get your life back on track. I burst out laughing. Banning me from dinner? In the middle of everything else that was happening, this was almost comical. You know what, Patricia, I said, my voice suddenly calm. You can keep your dinner. I wouldn't want to ruin your perfect little family gathering. I hung up the phone, a strange sense of liberation washing over me. Patricia couldn't control me. She couldn't dictate my life. But where would I go? The thought struck me. Patricia always held her family dinners at La Piazza, her favorite Italian restaurant, the one she practically owned through sheer force of patronage. An idea sparked in my mind, a deliciously wicked idea. I decided to go to La Piazza, not to crash the family dinner exactly, but to make a statement. I called the restaurant. I'd like to make a reservation for one, I said, my voice calm and confident. The hostess hesitated. We're very busy tonight, ma'am, especially in the main dining room. I understand, I said, but I believe the owner knows me. Tell them Sophia is calling. There was a pause. Then a different voice came on the line. Sophia? Is that really you? It was Marco, the owner of La Piazza. He and I had become friendly over the years, mostly through my frequent visits with Daniel. He knew about my IT background. He'd even asked me for help with the restaurant's cybersecurity once. Hi, Marco, I said, smiling to myself. I need a favor. Anything for you, Sophia. What's up? I need a table for one tonight in the main dining room, preferably with a good view, he chuckled. I think I can arrange that. See you tonight. That evening, I dressed carefully, choosing a stylish black dress that made me feel powerful and confident. I did my hair and makeup, determined to look my best. As I walked into La Piazza, all eyes turned to me. The restaurant was buzzing with activity, filled with the clatter of plates and the murmur of conversation. But as I walked past the tables, the noise seemed to fade away. People were staring, whispering. I spotted Patricia and her family at their usual table. Daniel looked surprised to see me. Patricia's face was a mask of fury. I ignored them and walked straight to Marco, who greeted me with a warm smile. He led me to a table right in the center of the room, with a perfect view of the entire restaurant, including Patricia's table. Is this okay, Sophia? He asked. Perfect, I said, smiling. As I sat down, Patricia stormed over to my table, her face red with anger. What are you doing here? She hissed. I told you not to come. I didn't crash your dinner, Patricia, I said, my voice calm and controlled. I made a reservation. This is a public restaurant after all. You're doing this to embarrass me, she accused. No, Patricia, I said. I'm doing this for myself. I'm tired of you trying to control me. I'm tired of your petty games. I'm done. Her eyes narrowed. You'll regret this, Sophia. I doubt it, I said, picking up my menu. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to order dinner. Patricia stood there for a moment, her face contorted with rage. Then she turned and stormed back to her table. Daniel looked at me, his expression a mixture of concern and confusion. I took a deep breath and opened the menu. I wasn't going to let Patricia ruin my evening. I was going to enjoy my dinner, and I was going to show her that I wasn't afraid of her. As I perused the menu, Marco came over to my table. Everything okay, Sophia? He asked, his voice low. Everything's fine, Marco, I said, smiling. Thank you for the table. Anytime, he said. And Sophia, I heard what happened with your parents. I'm really sorry. Thanks, Marco, I said. It's a lot to deal with. If there's anything I can do to help, he said, please let me know. I appreciate that, I said. I ordered a glass of wine and settled in to enjoy my meal. As I ate, I couldn't help but notice Patricia and her family glaring at me from their table, but I refused to let them get to me. I held my head high and enjoyed my dinner. Then something unexpected happened. A waiter approached my table, carrying a small silver platter. This is for you, ma'am, he said, placing the platter in front of me. I looked at the platter, confused. On it was a small folded piece of paper. I picked it up and opened it. It was a note, written in elegant script. I know about your parents. I can help. Meet me after dinner. A. My heart skipped a beat. Who was A? And how did they know about my parents? Who could I trust? The rest of the dinner passed in a blur. I tried to focus on my food, but my mind was racing. Who was this mysterious A? And what did they know? Could they really help my parents? Or was this a trap? After I finished my meal, I lingered at my table, trying to decide what to do. Part of me wanted to ignore the note, to dismiss it as a prank. But another part of me, the desperate part, wanted to believe that there was someone out there who could help. I had to meet this A. I couldn't afford not to. I asked Marco to point out anyone suspicious, describing what I thought a secret agent might look like, while being intentionally funny. He laughed, promising to keep an eye out. As I left the restaurant, I scanned the street, looking for anyone who seemed to be watching me. I spotted a figure standing in the shadows across the street. They were tall and slender, dressed in a dark coat and hat. I couldn't see their face. I took a deep breath and walked towards them. As I got closer, the figure stepped out of the shadows. It was a woman, her face hidden behind a pair of large sunglasses. "You're Sophia?" she asked, her voice low and husky. "Yes," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "Are you A?" She nodded. "Let's talk somewhere more private." She led me down a narrow alleyway, away from the main street. The alley was dark and damp, and it smelled of garbage. I felt a shiver run down my spine. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "And how do you know about my parents?" She took off her sunglasses, revealing a pair of piercing blue eyes. "My name is Agent Ava Sterling, and I work for the FBI." My jaw dropped. The FBI? What did the FBI have to do with my parents' debt? "Your parents are involved in something very dangerous, Sophia," she said, her voice serious. "They've been targeted by a criminal organization that specializes in financial scams." "What kind of scam?" I asked, my mind reeling. "It's complicated," she said. "But suffice it to say that your parents are in over their heads, and they need our help." "But why haven't you contacted them directly?" I asked. "We have," she said, "but they're afraid to cooperate. They think they can handle it on their own. But they can't. That's why I contacted you. We need your help to convince them to cooperate with us." I stared at her, stunned. My parents were involved in a financial scam, and the FBI was involved? It was like something out of a movie. "What do you need me to do?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "We need you to get close to them," she said. "We need you to gain their trust, and we need you to find out everything you can about the scam." "That's it?" I asked. That's it, she said. But it's not going to be easy. These people are dangerous. And they're watching your parents. They're watching you. I felt a wave of fear wash over me. I was putting myself in danger. But I couldn't turn back now. I had to help my parents. Okay, I said, my voice resolute. I'll do it. Ava nodded. Good. Here's what you need to know. She handed me a small flash drive containing information about the criminal organization and the scam. She also gave me a burner phone to use for communication. Be careful, Sophia, she said, her voice filled with concern. And trust no one. I walked back to my car, my mind racing. I was now an informant for the FBI, working to take down a dangerous criminal organization. It was insane, but I was determined to do whatever it took to protect my family. My phone buzzed again. It was a text message from Daniel. Where are you? Mom's freaking out. What was I supposed to tell him? I drove home, my head spinning. How could I explain my absence to Daniel without revealing the truth? And how could I convince my parents to trust me when they were already so secretive and afraid? When I got home, Daniel was waiting for me, his face etched with worry. Where have you been? He demanded. Mom's been calling me every 5 minutes. She thinks something's happened to you. I'm fine, Daniel, I said, trying to sound reassuring. I just needed some air. Some air? At this hour? Sophia, what's going on? I hesitated. I couldn't tell him the truth. Not yet. It was too dangerous. It's nothing, Daniel, I said. Just some family stuff. I'll explain later. He looked at me skeptically, but he didn't press the issue. He knew that when I said family stuff, it usually meant trouble. I found them both looking haggard and exhausted. What's wrong? I asked, my voice filled with concern. We haven't slept all night, my mom said, her voice trembling. We're so scared, Sophia. Scared of what? I asked, trying to sound casual. They're watching us, my dad said, his voice barely a whisper. We can feel it. Who's watching you? I asked. They hesitated, their eyes darting around the room. Them, my mom said, the people we owe money to. Have they threatened you? I asked. Not directly, my dad said. But we know what they're capable of. You need to go to the police, I said.